Villages are the best. All three paths provide insane buffs that we are going to cover today, and I'll provide some tips and tricks along the way, like how to save tens of thousands of dollars on the monkeyopolis. To start, the village itself costs $1,200 on medium and increases the range of any towers in its radius by 10%. Now that is pretty expensive for such a small buff, but it starts paying dividends once we get into the upgrades. Beginning with the top path, the tier 1 bigger radius makes the village's range 20% larger so it can buff more monkeys. Right now that isn't very useful, but the next upgrade is where things get interesting, and that is jungle drums, the buff that every monkey craves. This makes every tower in its range attack 18% faster, and this is completely passive, with no limit on attacks or how many monkeys are affected. Just a flat 18% bonus, which is crazy once you start buffing tier 5 monkeys like the Sky Shredder. After jungle drums, the top path niches down a bit to just buffing primary monkeys. The tier 3 primary training gives any primary monkey affected by the village plus 10% farther range, plus 1 pierce, and plus 25% projectile speed. Though useful for every primary monkey, this is especially nasty on the tack shooter as each tack gets that plus 1 pierce, and that is why you see the tack zone always being buffed by one of these. After that, the tier 4 primary mentoring gives all primary monkeys in its radius plus 5 range, reduces the ability cooldowns by 10%, and gives free tier 1 upgrades. Now this one is not always bought, as it doesn't increase the popping power of affected monkeys directly, but it is very useful when you're getting tons of low-level primary monkeys, like in the mob mauler or cluster bomb spamming strategies. This is also commonly used to decrease the cooldowns of abilities like Super Monkey Fan Club and the Super Maelstrom. And finally, the primary expertise is the tier 5 upgrade for the top path of the village. Now all the other upgrades have been fairly cheap up to this point, with the primary mentoring being the most expensive at $2,500, but primary expertise is up there at 25 grand. And with a price tag that high, it does not disappoint. The village itself gains a ballista attack that has 100 pierce, deals 200 damage to ceramics and blimps, deals 10 damage to normal balloons, and shoots every 2.5 seconds. On top of this global attack, it also increases the pierce gain to primary monkeys to plus 3, reduces their cooldowns to minus 20%, and the village itself gains 7 more range to buff even more monkeys. This tier 5 is extremely cost effective when combined with mob maulers and cluster bombs, as only their tier 3s and base price will cost money. Also, there is a unique strategy between this guy and the Inferno Ring, as it buffs the Inferno Ring's fireball attack to hit 4 times as many balloons due to the fireball initially only having 1 pierce. Moving on to the second path, the tier 1 and 2 are purchased almost every game. The tier 1 is almost irrelevant as it only costs $250 and stops the regrow balloons from regenerating while inside its radius, but the tier 2 is one of the most valuable purchases in the game, and that is Radar Scanner, which gives every affected monkey camo detection. Whereas this is not always needed on easier game modes, once you get into the later stages of Impoppable and Chimps where DDTs are running rampant, camo detection is a must, and this is the most reliable way to get it outside of using ETN. Then the tier 3 does not disappoint even when compared to Radar Scanner, and that is the Monkey Intelligence Bureau, which allows all affected monkeys to pop every type of balloon, so leads and purples are no longer an issue. This is a must-have in most games, as many tier 5 monkeys have a weakness or two that the MIB completely negates. Now this is typically where you'd stop down this path in a normal run, but if you're going into a boss event or free play, the next 2 upgrades are essential. The tier 4 is called Arms, which gives the village an ability that, when activated, gives nearby monkeys plus 50% attack speed and pierce for 12 seconds. This is absolutely nuts, but the tier 5 takes it to another level. Homeland Defense buffs this ability to increase the attack speed and pierce by 100% for all monkeys on the screen for 20 seconds. Like I said, this one is really only used for Bloonaries and free play because the price tag is a bit high, but over doubling your popping power is definitely worth it if you have the money to spare. Finally, we have the bottom path of the village, and this has the most tricks and bugs to take advantage of. To start, the tier 1 monkey business provides a 10% discount on all monkeys and tier 3 or lower upgrades when purchased inside the radius of the village, and the tier 2 adds an additional 5% discount on top of this. This 15% discount can easily pay itself off with just a few monkeys, so a super common strategy is to get 2 002 villages next to each other and upgrade one to a 202 and the other to a 032. This way, you get the jungle drums and Monkey Intelligence Bureau buffs while also saving money on any monkeys you get in the future. The only thing that you have to be cautious of with this is if there is enough space for 2 villages and all the monkeys you need to beat the map. If there is enough space, you might as well do it. Moving on to the tier 3 upgrade, Monkey Town gives plus 50% cash per pop to every monkey in its radius. This can be an effective farming method when purchased early, especially when paired with Bloon Trap and Monkey Pirates as their extra cash stacks. Though this does not work in Chimps, and farms are still a better method of farming in normal games. Then the tier 4 Monkey City increases the village's range by 10, gives a free dart monkey every round, and makes nearby towers generate 15% more money for any income that is not pop dependent. This includes merchantmen, farms, snipers, druids, helipilots, sun temples, monkeyopolises, engineers, Benjamin, and Oben's Wall of Trees. This is a super cheap upgrade coming in at only 3k, so you should probably get it if any of these monkeys are in its range. But the main reason for getting a Monkey City is to progress to the ultimate farming tower in the game, and that is the monkeyopolis. This upgrade sacrifices all banana farms in its radius and will produce $300 per round for every $2,000 sacrificed in farms. Now, boss events have really pushed the limits of the monkeyopolis, so I hope you're ready for an onslaught of tips. The first is that sacrificing and farming with villages is far more efficient than just farming with farms. As such, you should be sacrificing 420 banana research facilities to the monkeyopolis, as these are the most expensive farms that can be sacrificed to it, thus making the village produce the most money possible. Going along with this, a mini monkeyopolis, or a miniopolis if you will, can speed up your farm quite a bit. Instead of going straight for a mega monkeyopolis, just build 2 420 banana research facilities and sacrifice them to the village. This will produce a similar amount as 4 BRFs, but for only the price of 3. Then you can use this to set up your bigger monkeyopolis down the road. For the bigger one, you'll want to buff the range of the monkey city before making it a monkeyopolis so you can fit more farms in its range to be sacrificed. To do this, just buff it with another village and overclock the monkey city before upgrading it. Another thing to note is that the monkeyopolis will not generate more money when overclocked, as the game still recognizes it as a village and not a farm. So if you keep placing farms after your monkeyopolis, you should be overclocking them instead to make more money. That being said, monkeyopolises will make more money when buffed by a monkey city, so make sure to keep that village that was used to buff its range and upgrade it into a monkey city. Finally, the monkeyopolis costs 5 grand for every farm sacrificed regardless of difficulty, but there is a bug that can make this much cheaper, and I have finally cracked the code on how to do it 100% of the time. To start, we'll need a previous monkeyopolis up and running, and the easiest way to do this is to get a miniopolis earlier in the run. Then set up your big monkeyopolis by getting a ton of 420 farms and a monkey city in the middle. Next, we will sell our miniopolis so we can unlock the tier 5 upgrade for our big setup, and if you click on it, we can see that it currently costs tens of thousands of dollars. After this, all you have to do is get another village off to the side, put one farm in its range, and upgrade this new one to a 004. This new village will only cost 5 grand to upgrade to a monkeyopolis, which makes sense because there is only one farm in its range, but now if we go back to the big monkey city, we can see that that upgrade is only 5k as well. For some reason, these two villages' prices are linked, and they are only based off the new one. Now, some weird stuff happens if you mess with the second village, and maybe some more bugs can be found with this, but you can just go ahead and upgrade your huge monkeyopolis for 5 grand, and don't worry, it will generate the same amount of money that it would if you paid full price, so think of it as if it just went on clearance. This is incredibly useful when saving money for fighting bosses, and this extra money can be spent on more farms or defenses. Why don't monkey aces ever bump into mobs? What altitudes do these things fly at?